All right, Panther fans. So, yesterday, Florida Panthers general manager Bill Zito was on a podcast with Pierre LeBrun. And y'all can thank Tom, who writes the articles for the Substack, for the Flying Fluffy Substack. You can all thank him for turning me on to this interview because it didn't come up in my feed. And based on the views that I see on this video and the lack of comments that are in the podcast's video, not a whole hell of a lot of people have seen it. I think Tom was the only comment I even recognized. So what I'm going to do is I cut it. I took the interview with Bill Zito. I'm going to play it here, and then I'm going to come on afterwards and give my thoughts. Now, there is one part of the video that cuts towards the end where that wasn't me. That's at the actual podcast. Bill was in the middle of giving an answer, and he must have told him he didn't like what he said because it cuts to something else. So there must have been a part that he had to cut out. So without further ado, here's Keto Bill Zito.
With an overtime win last night, the Florida Panthers now leading the National Hockey League in points percentage, second overall in the standings behind the Vancouver Canucks as we welcome in General Manager Bill Zito. I think about your headspace at last year's deadline, Bill, and where you were in the standings. I think scrapping it out for a wild card spot, much different positioning compared to where you are now. Maybe just take us through how different that must be for you as the decision maker. A lot different situation for you to be making decisions from.
Yeah, that it sounds a little whiny probably to say this. That narrative last year, although the points were a reality, I think from January 1st on, we were among the top 5, maybe less, but certainly top handful of teams in the league. So we knew we were clicking away pretty good. And we wanted to keep the team together. We owed it to the group to give them the chance to make the playoffs. And at the same time, we in a situation similar to where we are now, we didn't have a lot of currency to get in on some of the other things. So this year's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. We're going to have some space. We have some late round picks, but we're going to have to be very, very cautious and frugal with what we do and how we do it. With all that said, phone rings tomorrow. Who knows?
Right. Well, it's interesting. This is a time of year where a lot of contenders look to add depth to their blue line, if not even a higher end piece. I feel like you kind of did all that last summer when you consider that you brought in OEL and Kulikov and signed Mikola. And I get that a lot of that was to sort of, stem the tide while Ekblad and Montour were recovering, Bill. But now it's giving you a lot of depth on your blue line. Do you feel that way, that you sort of did your trade deadline work last summer when it comes to that particular area of your team?
I forget who the player was. This is going back probably a decade. Kenny Holland made the comment, someone came off IR and he said, that's my deadline ad.
Right.
And so if you look, for example, at Montour and Ekblad, had they come back in January or, a couple weeks ago, then could we look at those two guys as our deadline ads? Just like you said, Pierre, possibly, but we're not going to add just to add, or we're not going to add just that. We have to be certain, at least in our own minds, that whatever we do is going to make us better and give us a better chance.
Not just about assets necessarily, but chemistry and mix in the locker room. I know that's something you pay really close attention to as well. And we see teams make dramatic changes at deadline time to teams that are already pretty good. Where's your head at on the mix you have in the locker room, the experiences they've had together, largely going to a cup final already, and maybe not wanting to over tinker with something like that?
Exactly. Teams win, right? Not individuals. So the integrity of the group, the integrity of the room, and I guess what we could call the community, it's just all fancy words for team, right? Mm-hmm. Our bunch of guys is a unique, it's a unique team. they get along. They have empathy for each other. They care about each other. And I think you hear that a lot in sports, particularly when teams are winning. But in this instance, it goes beyond. And it's very, very important. And without it, we wouldn't have the success. So, yeah, it's something that we pay particular attention to and are mindful of it, ever mindful of it now as we head down the home stretch.
Bill, one thing I noticed last night is head coach Paul Maurice tinkered with his lines a bit entering the third period maybe it was second period, I can't remember, but, trying to find something else going there with your team, it was sort of you kind of grind it out an overtime win over Ottawa. But it also led me to think about this, which is that there seems to be a lot of flexibility in your forward group where Paul Maurice can do that, first of all. But number two, sort of the counter to Ryan's question about, chemistry and so on. I think if you do go out and add, let's say, a top 9 forward before March 8th, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you have the comfort of knowing whoever that is, if you get that player, can fit in different ways because of the way some of your players can play up and down the lineup. Is that fair?
Yeah, we've been blessed with the flexibility of, almost every forward. I mean, certainly the top 9. You have Cousins who played with Tkachuk and Bennett in the playoffs,
right?
Who could play in the fourth line. You have Rodriguez, who goes back and forth. You have Luosterainen, who is a center. Lundell's a center. Reinhart's a center. Verhaeghe goes back between the two lines. I mean, I guess the constants now are, Sasha and Reinhart. But even until this year, Sam Reinhart was with Lundell.
Right.
And so the flexibility and the openness and willingness of everybody to say, hey, whatever it takes, it's a tremendous benefit.
Right. And I noticed that hold on, Ryan. I just want to follow up because I noticed that you cleverly deflected and stick handled around my point about maybe adding a top 9 forward. So let me take a second run at you there. Is that, okay.
Listen, response A, have you one for sale for me? B, top 9 forwards tend not to be cheap. I made a joke to somebody, I need to buy an Armani suit, but I can't really go to Madison Avenue. I have to wait till it gets to TJ Maxx.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, look, there could be a player available at any time. Someone could blow our socks off and you just have to do it. You don't have a choice, right? Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we have to see what's available to us. And then any ad at this point would be, frosting on the cake, if you will, or sprinkles on the frosting, however you want to characterize it. So sure, you can always use a better player. And we do have a core of players who readily adapt to different situations, who understand winning as a team, who enjoy winning and success, and who are smart enough to figure out that no matter how much individual success you have, you always have more if you win.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a team, as you mentioned, that finished incredibly strong last season, all the way to a Stanley Cup final. When you evaluate this year's group, what growth do you see, and how do you compare this group to the one that got all the way to the last series last year? Where do you think you're at?
The growth question, I would say one of the more obvious areas of growth would be moving from that underdog kind of they're fighting to get in type desperation to trying to maintain that standard of urgency, professionalism, playing hard when you're the favorite, right? When I say the favorite, I don't mean literally, I mean sort of figuratively with regard to where you are in the standings, or, a team that looks pretty good for making the playoffs. And you go into situations and you need to have that hardness, that consistency, the focus and attention to detail. And I think we're ahead of our group last year in being ever mindful, because it's a hard thing to do.
How do you think the group has been able to avoid the cup final hangover? Teams have talked about this for a long time, Bill, and it seems to be harder on some teams than others. But it feels like you guys look like you got energy in your legs, and you look like you're ready to go here.
Well, we weren't at the party, so we were probably not hungover. For me, I can't speak for the guys, but it absolutely tears at you, and it gnaws at you, and it's something that, as you prepare for the next season, and even as we prepare every day, it wasn't very pleasant. So perhaps that we did have to have some new players come in, and it took a little while to start for everybody to gel and to buy in and to understand what was going on. So perhaps the fact that some of the new guys weren't part of that, and they're trying and learning, and they're all great people, and they all sort of needed. It was an interesting group with Oliver Edmund Larson and Nico Mikkola and Cooley. They needed the chance, right? They wanted to get in and start playing regular and do those things. So maybe that was as much a part of it.
Wanted to ask you about Carter Verhaeghe. So 33 points in his last 24 games, seventh most since late December. You don't hear his name in certain conversations that maybe they should be in. How underrated, maybe undervalued league-wide do you think this player is? How impressed are you with where his game's been at the last couple of years?
Yeah, he's not very good. If I were another team, I wouldn't be interested in him. No, he's overrated. He's such a unique talent, and it's strange. I think that there's a lot of things about our team and our players that go underrated. But his scoring ability, in tandem with his speed and his work ethic, they're unique. He's not the biggest guy, but he'll play hard and he'll go and he'll take hits. He is fast. I just think that his character, if you know him as a person and then you see him on the ice, his on-ice performance sort of reflects his personality. Happy. I've never seen him in a bad mood. Always willing to tease and get teased. But that he has the it factor with regard to scoring goals. If he gets the puck, a lot of people with good shots, they shoot. He aims. He knows where it's going, and it's a special skill.
I don't know if you noticed this, Bill, but Sam Reinhart's having a career season, and he's a pending UFA. I thought he did a pretty good job at All-Star here in Toronto. He had a big media session, and obviously he was getting a lot of questions on that. But like the veteran that he is, he stick-handled around that. So now it's your turn. He's obviously having a huge year, and I know he wants to be a Panther, and you want to keep him. So where would you say that thing is at right now?
Yeah, it's a tough dynamic. I guess you could say selfishly, but certainly selfishly on behalf of the Panthers, want to keep it together. And we think we have a way that we can. We think we have a way to get everybody paid pretty handsomely. And at the same time, you have to respect the individual, right? Like, you have to. And where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that hopefully we'll be able to solve that part of the equation. He is as wonderful as a goal scorer as he's been this season. What does get overlooked and underrated is the rest of his play. He has an elite hockey mind. I was talking to him yesterday. Like, I think 2 games ago he went between the legs on a goal front, like kind of a fancy play. But for the most part, he does it. He makes the right play every time. It's simple, but it always sort of ends up continuing wherever he is on the ice. He moves the puck and it keeps going. The play keeps happening. Defensively, he's excellent. And then most important, he's a leader in the room. He's a super, super character guy. He cares a lot about the team and about team success. I can't say enough about it.
So wait, are you the GM or the agent in this conversation here?
I can't help it. Maybe I'm the agent too. So if there's a way to work it out, I'm confident that we will.
Looking at your to-do list, and I know he's got to be at or near the top of it, obviously, but you got a lot of contracts that need to be worked through here in this offseason. You sort of a lot of work that needs to be done. How are you feeling about looking at just the sheer number of forwards? You only have a couple D-men that are under as well. An opportunity to reshape maybe in some ways, but a pretty long to-do list here, Bill.
I'm trying to think of the right word. The luxury that I enjoy is a software program called Excel. Okay. And addition. So you add it all up and you can only spend so much. We're going to spend all of it. So who and how we divvy it up, someone's going to want to play here. Some good players are going to want to stay for lots of money. So there's no other way to really look at it. Otherwise you get frustrated and I think, yeah, we have a lot of contracts, but we need to be mindful of individuals. We need to be mindful of some of the things that we tell players when they come here. If you need a jump start, you need a restart, come play. You have good players. You have a good situation. You have a coaching staff that isn't going to spend a lot of time telling you what you do wrong. They'll celebrate what you do well. And so then they do this and they have success, and then maybe they have to go because they, for whatever, they need or decide to make more money. But I think we have a group that wants to be here. And I think we have a way to keep most of the guys, but time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
That postcard out your back window doesn't hurt too much either, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's when I first came, our owner, Vinny Viola, said, you have to change everything upside down. It's a country club, whatever the theme was. And I thought perhaps we were going to need more discipline, more rules. And I learned very, very quickly that if we just take care of the hard work and the enthusiasm for hockey and for the game, and accountability and sincere desire to win, that the rest of the stuff's great. Mm-hmm. And so we want guys playing golf. We want guys going for walks on the beach. We want guys outside. They just built a new practice facility right down where most of the players live. It's gorgeous. It's, in a park. Guys can take their golf carts. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we take time to be people, that our families are able to enjoy the geography of where we live and the environment where we live, and maintain the hockey and work ethic standards as high as we can. And so we're blessed.
Bill, last question for me. Thanks again for joining us on Got Your Back. We asked you about your trade deadline, but just the league overall, if you look around your colleagues and what they're up to, no one in the Eastern Conference has actually really added yet. It's still 2.5 weeks to the deadline. We saw Vancouver and Winnipeg add in the West. But I know what you're probably going to say, but I find it interesting how GMs sit back and suddenly a rival, a team that you may have to go through, does something in the next 2.5 weeks. How do you react to that? And do you have to make sure you don't let the emotion take over in that moment? That, keeping up with the Joneses, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I'm probably an outside of the box thinker on this one. You build your team, absent injuries, you move forward. If there's a player that you can get that you think will help you, both on the ice, maintain the integrity of the community in the room, yeah, you do it. The cost to acquire this asset isn't so significant it's going to just kill me down the road. Can I recover from it? Is there a way maybe I can find an alternative? All those factors go into the decision making. I don't think.
Adam Henrique from the Anaheim Ducks. What do you think?
Okay, so Rangers got Henrique. I come into the room. Oh my God, Rangers give Barkov. No, we can't. We could trade one of the free agents. Yeah, okay. So we trade. Pick one. I don't care. One of the free agents. Now we got to go get that guy.
Right.
So in the circumstances that we're dealing with right now are really focused on our group, our needs, what we can get, how we get it, and that's where we sit. So
makes sense.
Sorry, it's not the sexiest answer, but
it's a truthful one. That's what we want.
I thought it was a pretty damn good answer, actually. I thought it was awesome, Bill. So was the whole interview.
So much of this is honestly media driven, right? Like deadline day and shows and
what
clicks.
What are you talking about? Trade centers, yes.
I've read things like Florida's in on this, and I'm like, did anyone call? Because I don't know what they're talking about. And then of course you get people in the organization, you get friends and family. Are you guys doing that? No. So I understand. I think it's wonderful. As a fan, it's a great time. It's a great time, and it's just sort of about the enthusiasm for our game and for your team and your franchise, and so we're pretty fortunate that we are able to have all of this excitement and fun in the midst of the stress and trying to win and whatever. So it's we're lucky that we work in a great sport.
Well, the minute we hear something about the Florida Panthers, both Pierre and I are coming directly to you. So we expect prompt responses on deadline day to either confirm or shoot down reports.
If I can't, I won't.
Having tried that, I can tell you it's radio silence from that guy. It's
man, hey,
you got to try.
Yeah, well,
we had one in Columbus. We did a trade, and the team was calling us back. It clearly wasn't registered. No one had talked to the player. We hadn't even exchanged phone numbers. Bob McKenzie had it on TV. And the other team called us and was like, what the hell? How could you do that? Well, there was only 3 of us in the room. We hadn't left. Like, us? How could you do that? And there was a GM that was a friend, and he goes, there's only 2 people here. No one left the room. We're like, Bob McKenzie's got our phones. So
yeah, and Bobby
lots
Mack.
of fun.
Yeah,
trade deadline master. Bill, thanks so much for doing this. We appreciate the time. Continued success. Good luck at the deadline, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right, so you see why I called him Keto Bill Zito. It's either the either the camera angle or he's lost some weight. Either way, I wouldn't guarantee you guys might be able to see him in person if you see him at the games. I don't know. Face obviously looks a lot thinner, but it could be the camera angle. I know my face looks fatter or thinner depending on the hat or the camera angle. So, all right. What did Bill say? Well, he said a couple of things. First off, close-lipped. Okay, what have I been saying about this guy for a long? You're not getting information out of him. I just had to laugh. I had to laugh when he says, I read stuff, and I'm like, did they call me? And I'm like, no, Bill, they didn't call you because I hadn't called you yet. I hadn't approved the move. I'm kidding. The point is, there's no Hannaford for Lundell. That's probably exactly what he was talking about. Bill probably read that and was like, what? Who comes up with these deals? Now, the subject that we all want to kind of know about is dual. How do we get everybody signed, and then how do we get Reinhart signed? Now, we kind of talked about the whole team first. I have a plan. We have a plan to pay everyone handsomely. Now, I'm not saying he watched my How to Sign Everybody video that I made over the summer. Not saying that, although I did make that about the same time as I made the Kachuk trade video. He might be watching my videos and taking the ideas, guys. I don't know. I can't guarantee that he's not. But he has a plan, he says, to pay everyone handsomely. Now, of course, from the rest of some of his answers, handsomely may be in the eye of the beholder. He said there's going to be guys that want to stay here and make lots of money. Yes, like you could tell Brandon Montour, look, $5 million is lots of money, but Montour could say, I want $7 and go. He did mention one thing about how, you know, sometimes we tell guys, hey, if you want to come here, get a jump start to your career, get a kick start, you know what I mean, get things moving again. That's OEL to me. To me, that sounds like I don't think we'll be able to sign OEL to a contract if somebody else is going to want to pay him money. He's already making like 2.2 right now. So there's not going to be a lot of room to give him, you know, much of a raise because everybody else needs it. I mean, like everybody else needs a contract, guys. Okay, I've said it ad nauseum. You guys know the players. I counted them up yesterday. I believe it's 9 of the 18 guys that take the ice on a regular basis. I might have missed one, but it's at least more than half the team that the 12 forwards and the top 6 on defense, more than half of those guys are not signed for next year. And throw in Anthony Stolarz to boot. Now, he says they have a plan where they think they can get it done. He was talking about the UFAs. He says, I think we have a plan that we can get everybody done. Now, the only way you're going to get those guys done, again, this is something we've talked about a lot. If you move on from Spencer Knight, I believe, when I made the video over the summer, I thought we were going to have 19 in cap space based on what the cap was supposed to go up. And I divvied it out, and I thought we could kind of do it. Now, the cap is going to go up an extra $2 million, but let's just say Reinhart gets all $2 million of that money, right? Because I think I had him at like 7. So let's say you gave Reinhart 9. There's still money there if Forsling, Montour, and those guys don't get huge raises, and then you fill out the rest of the roster, like you give Ryan Lomberg from $800,000 to $1 million, etc., etc. If you want to be sure that you can sign everybody, Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight is the answer there. That is how you keep the team that's on the ice right now together and pay everybody. To me, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that that's the move because I don't have Bill's phone like Mackenzie does. But if I'm Bill Zito, right, if I'm making the moves or if he's watching the videos and taking the ideas, either way, that's my move because he's not on the ice right now, right? You know what I'm saying? And if you listen to what he was talking about, how he was analyzing making moves in terms of acquiring players, I guarantee he applies the same logic when he's getting rid of somebody. Case in point, where he was talking about how, you know, can I survive this? Can we recover from this? Well, moving on from Spencer Knight right now is nothing to even recover from because Bob has found the fountain of youth. And maybe we can sign Stolarz, maybe we can't. Maybe Stolarz is another one of those guys that Bill said, hey, you want to come jumpstart your career, right? That might be another guy that he's talking about. You know, you sell these guys on 1-year deals. Say, hey, look, you play with good players, you do well, you play in the sunshine, and if you have to go elsewhere and get more money, you know, No hard feelings, but maybe some of these guys will want to stay. So OEL, Kulikov, Stolars, maybe Stenlin falls into that category too. I would hate to lose Stenlin, right? I mean, here's a guy that came in with a high of 6 career goals, and he's already got 9, so he might finish with double his high of career goals. That certainly would, he might be worth more than $1 million to somebody else. So there's some of those guys. We're not going to ice the same exact team. We know that. But it does not sound like, kind of sounds like what I've been saying. I'm not saying I've been saying it, but what I'm saying is he's saying what we've been saying, which is it doesn't sound like we need to make a move. If there's a guy and somebody blows our socks off, fine. But we don't really have the capital to do anything. And in terms of the Sam Reinhart answer that he gave, I would be lying to you, okay? Like last year when I sat here and I said, no matter what, okay, it's game 5, we're losing 6-2, and I'm like, we're winning the cup, all right? That level of confidence, I don't have that level of confidence about Sam Reinhart. If you listen to the podcast, I've been saying, what's taking so long? How hard can it be to bridge the gap between $8 million and $9.5? Or even are you going to pay him more than Tkachuk? Is he asking for 10? We don't have 10. We have 9. We have 9. My honest concern, for whatever reason, I wonder if the problem is term. I have an odd suspicion that the problem is not per year, it's not the salary. I have an odd suspicion that it's term, because the way that Reinhart has talked about it, he said, Bill Zito's given me the longest contract I've had in the NHL. So it would stand to reason that under these circumstances, having a career year, this might be the last contract Reinhart wants to worry about, right? So I don't know why we would be concerned with giving him 8 instead of 6. Like, why would we be playing around with saying, well, we can only give you 6? There's no, what are we worried about, right? I mean, you're talking about in 8 years, everybody's gone by then almost. And, Barkov's an old man. Verhaeghe's an old man. I mean, we're in 8 years, these are not the guys, right? So it wouldn't make any sense, but I can't shake that feeling. It's right here in my stomach, like a bad PBJ. I just can't shake the feeling that that's the issue, is term. Because it makes no sense. Nothing else makes any sense. The only thing that can make sense is Reinhardt's like asking for like 8 times 10, and Bill is saying, look, I can give you 6 times 9. I mean, it's still not a huge gap, but we'll have to see. He's very, very tight-lipped, and I like that, because it makes it easy on me, because it makes me look good. Because when these trade rumors come up, like the other day with Hanifin and Lundell, and I say, he ain't doing that, I end up right, because it's by default. I don't have... In fact, the fact that I know nothing is why I'm right so often, because he's not giving anybody any information. So any of the information that you see being leaked is by definition wrong. So to be right, all I have to do is disagree with whatever the hockey writers are saying, and I'm right. I'm just figuring that out. So the point is that he has a plan that thinks he can pay everybody handsomely. Now, I don't remember my numbers exactly. It was $19 million I had doled out between Reinhart, Forsling, Montour, and Lundell. I think I gave Reinhart 7, and then, I think I gave Reinhart 7, and like you could do Forsling and Montour a piece at 5, and then give Lundell 2. Now, the salary cap went up $2 million more after I made that video, but that's Lundell, that's Reinhart. So if you can give Reinhart 9, you can give Forsling 5, Montour 5, Lundell 2, unless you move Spencer Knight. If you move Spencer Knight, now you can even go 6, 6, and 3. And if Montour or Forsling doesn't want to stay for 6, well, that's all we can do. That's what we can do, guys. You know what I mean? And then the rest of the team gets filled in with, unfortunately, minimum wage guys, Sam Miskevich, that type of player. But if you can keep 15 of the 18 guys here, then you only plug in a couple of holes. Now, when I did that, I accounted for OEL making the same amount of money, Kulikov making the same amount of money. So obviously some of those things are not going to happen. I wish we would not have lost John Ludwig, because he is a guy that would have been ready to step in for maybe a Kulikov on the bottom pair. That sucks how we kind of lost him. You got to, it gets tough. It gets tricky when you got your draft picks and you end up waiving them and then you lose them, right? So sometimes that can come back to bite you. But I trust, and the last thing I'll say, I think we all trust what he's going to do. I think we all know. I said this yesterday in the review. We all know we're going to be sitting here this time next year going, he did it again. That to us is a foregone conclusion. For me, the curiosity is killing me. For me, I'm just like, I just want to know. And could we just sign somebody? Like I've said this before. Just give me one contract, Bill. So, other than that, he looks good. He has to have lost weight, right? That's not the same, And it's weird because I know I do the videos with him, pretending to be him, and that's the same thing that happens to me. When I gain or lose weight, it's in my face first. If you watch some of the older videos from this channel, I got chunky cheeks, and then I got the Lyme disease, and I got all skinny. I looked like a crackhead, and now I'm kind of like in between, pudgy cheeks and crackhead. But it's gone. It's gone white, man. It's gone white. If I keep it trimmed, it's okay. But if I let it grow out, all the long hairs are white. And we got to do that soon, right? Got 6 weeks. I can shave for the next 6 weeks. And then I got to grow that ridiculous beard again. All right. Just thought you guys would be interested in seeing that. I don't feel so bad, by the way, now about the YouTube algorithm. Because there is Pierre LeBrun, who has he's a professional hockey dude, interviewing the general manager of the hockey of the Panthers, one of the most popular teams right now. I look at it; it's got like 500 views. So it's the YouTube algorithm does not show people what they really want. They showed me a chess match yesterday. I don't even know the first thing about chess. I've never played chess. I've never watched chess. We don't walk around saying chess in our phones. And the algorithm brought me like some 6-minute video of when some guy beat some girl playing chess. The YouTube algorithm is literal Satan. I've convinced myself of that. So, all right. We'll see you 1/2 hour before face-off tonight.